Hello, I'm Allison Bryant, and welcome back to Bedbugs Podcast. Come crawl into bed with me. Today, we're in my childhood bedroom, and we are going to be talking about emerging into adulthood, Lena Dunham's new memoir, and my last improv class. All right, I think I just did 80 intros, and I'm about ready to yap right now. But I want to start by obviously acknowledging the change in scenery. We are in my Los Angeles home. I feel like I've been coming home a lot. There's a lot of this year that has been kind of this like very transitional period between being in school and having like set breaks where you come home and you're like, okay, I know I'm going to be home for the month of January, and then going into the adult working world and being like, oh, okay, like I get holidays off. It's made me appreciate more the choice that I'm making to see my family and to acknowledge that like coming home is an active and proactive choice. I am in a place now, I work remotely, and I have the privilege to be able to like travel and come home for a month. And I'm trying to take advantage of that. That is, I guess, the overarching theme of today's episode. I didn't really plan for it to be, but I think it's been a big theme in my life recently and heavy on my mind. So I think when in doing prep for this episode, it was very prevalent in my topics and my planning, despite not intending for it to be that way. But I think it's very fitting, being that we are literally surrounded by my ecosystem at teenage and middle school years. This is obviously not my childhood home. I grew up in Arizona, and this was our summer house that we ended up moving into. It's like a relic. It hasn't really changed much. I'm like behind the camera, I'm like looking at a wall that has like Finn Wolfhard and Dylan Minnette, and like it's every bright color imaginable. It's a really great thing to be able to come back to a place that is so canonly you, and such a ecosystem of every phase of your life before you, and like the books that I have out that I haven't read since I was in middle school, or like the perfumes that I used to use. Like I have like a Justice perfume and a One Direction perfume, and I'm like, okay, I'm home. Which one am I doing today? It's a nice thing, and it's something that I take for granted to have in this capacity because I no longer have my childhood home in Arizona. And I don't know, it's fun to kind of come back and like relive and revisit. I flew in yesterday. I spent most of my flight writing and listening to Lena Dunham's new memoir, Famesick, which I talked a bit about Lena Dunham last week, and I feel like at the age of 23, I've never felt closer to and more bonded with Lena Dunham. And I say this with great honor that I feel like I'm in my Lena Dunham phase of life, and it's like the highest compliment to her. Her memoir is a reminder of her brilliance. She's incredibly prolific, and as a writer, I think um, I look to her a lot, and I look to her work a lot. There's something so charming and disarming about a witty writer. I think there are times where I, especially as somebody who's like an aspiring writer and somebody who has always been good at writing and kind of has placed my self-worth at times on, okay, that's my alarm going off. Thank you, Harry. Jump scare. I think there have been times that as a kid, what I was really strong at was writing. And my brother was always so good at math. That was not my journey. I'm not a big numbers person. I'm capable of it. It wasn't where like I felt comfortable. And I like being good at things. So when I understood math and I was good at math, I loved doing math homework, and I was excited to go to math class. When I wasn't understanding, it was like pulling teeth. And I think a lot of that is in writing, it's subjective. So you can write something really bad one day, but one person might like it. I think the subjectiveness was an allowance for me to be whoever I wanted to be. And show up and present as whatever I was capable of giving on the day to day. And there is no right answer or wrong answer. And I always loved poetry as a kid. I remember, like, I think it was third or fourth grade, I won like a state poetry competition, and we got to go like for the district, like to this ceremony. And I remember just feeling like this is what I meant to do. Um, and that love of books and writing has transcended obviously into my young adult life and then now into like my career aspirations. And I think there's times where I find myself, especially when I'm reading my old work and sometimes when I'm reading friends' work or people who are younger than me, I find myself reading and seeing a pretentiousness. I think in a world where writing has become accessible, um, publishing your work is as simple as posting on Substack now. Um, that is a great gift and a great benefit of where we are technologically, but it's also allowing us to skip past perfecting the craft. And I think there are times that I am guilty of this in consuming and also in producing. This kind of way of writing that's like writing like a writer. And I know that sounds redundant and kind of just like, well, yeah, it sounds obvious. You write to be a writer. You know, when you're writing a paper in eighth grade and you Google like word for blank and then like adjective for blank. And I know this is coming from somebody who uses like every other sentence, so I can't really be policing the thinkers of the world, but it has been heavy on my mind within my own self and my own work. And I think sometimes it's okay to write in your own voice. That's something that I lost for a long time, especially in college, where I was writing these very like melancholy pieces, a lot about growing up and love and loss and grief and all of these things and these ideas that are human experience, and we all feel them and we all live through them and we all have a story to share. But instead of writing about these things in a way that was a connector and a way to tell my story and articulate the feelings I was having, I was writing to be told I was a good writer. And I was writing to feel important. We are in this kind of microcosm of greatness and this almost like race to be brilliant. And I think brilliance comes from experience, and something I'd been in like a little bit of a writer's block era recently, and I felt like I just had nothing to say. And I think sometimes when you have nothing to say, it doesn't mean that you need to go sit at a coffee shop and really think and really get yourself going. I think when you have nothing to say, sometimes you need to live and you need to go do things so that you do have something to say. And I had this moment of just feeling like, okay, I'm writing something and I'm pulling from all these past experiences, which is exactly what you should do, but I'm doing it at the cost of new experiences. When I'm talking to my friends and telling them, like, oh my God, this funny thing happened, what am I trying to communicate? Because it's not trying to use the fanciest word or the buzziest word to seem important and to seem prolific. It's to connect. That's, I think, also something that had been lost on me for a while, was separating my voice from character voice. That was something, weirdly enough, like in improv, I was kind of able to take my voice away by allowing my experiences to inform my choices. And doing that in life has also been incredibly important and disarming for me as somebody who's constantly feeling behind. I was kind of nervous to read Lena Dunham's memoir because she was successful from such an early age. She wrote Girls at 23, which is the age I am now. And I think a lot of that is like, oh, okay, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I where I want to be? No. And am I 23? Yes. And if I had every single thing that I want right now, would I be happy? I don't know. Maybe. It's not just about career stuff. It's also about like, I was getting on a flight yesterday to come to Los Angeles. I was boarding the plane and I was thinking, like, I want to be in first class. And then I realized I'm 23. I'm 23 years old. I have a lot of, God willing, hopefully, years ahead of me to do the things that I want to do and to pursue things that maybe I'm not able to pursue right now. I think allowing myself the privilege to just do what I'm doing right now and think about everything that is going to come as something that it's like it will come to me. It's just, and these are not like original, I'm not the first time thinker. Like this is not like, oh, I'm so philosophical. I remember one time reading the comments of a TikTok that was a post about Emma Chamberlain's podcast, and it was like she's having thoughts I had at 12 years old. And like, congrats. We're all on a race to be better and more and more than everyone else, whether that's more intelligent or more together or more financially stable or um, have cooler clothes than someone else. I think it's this need to be better. And I talked about this a little bit with improv. It requires you to shed your ego at the door, and it requires you to kind of melt into this experience where you aren't better than the person next to you because you're right here with them. And this is something that maybe I don't like to admit, even though like this podcast is kind of like a culmination of that, is that like I'm an incredibly judgmental person. It's in my nature and it's who I am, and it's it's just how I live. Like I'm incredibly judgmental, and I think on certain days that is part of my charm, and I think on certain days it is the worst thing I can be, and I had to recalculate my judgment and place it elsewhere. And for a minute, I would say like week 2 and 3 in improv, I didn't know where to put that judgment I didn't want it to go towards other people. So I like internalized it. And it was like, okay, well, if I'm not allowed to judge them, I still can judge, I can judge me, which wasn't beneficial either. And I had realized we were in the last class and we were doing some warm up exercises. Something that bothers me tremendously, and this is like not that big of a deal, but I think it's so irksome when somebody was going and and it's their turn to do whatever in the game, and instead of committing, they start laughing. And not just because, oh my God, it's so funny, I can't help myself. They start laughing awkwardly because they don't know what else to do. Or they start say, I don't know, go skip me, go to someone else. That was driving me nuts. And I realized that while I wasn't doing that verbally, I was doing it internally. And I wasn't committing 100% because I was nervous and I was embarrassed and I was judging myself for even taking part and being a part of it. And when I was able to understand that, like, the literal judgment I have of other people not committing is also judgment of me not committing out of a fear of being judged. And it's this fucking roundabout thing that I had to kind of face within minutes and alter to make the rest of the 2 hour class worth it, which it absolutely ended up being, because by the time I started really committing, especially to physicality was something really, really difficult for me. I am not somebody who finds physical comedy to be something I am particularly good at or comfortable in. Putting yourself in an uncomfortable space is a million trillion times more beneficial to you as a person than staying comfortable all of the time. And that's something that I work on with my therapist. I'm working on in improv, apparently. I'm working on with this podcast, which is not super comfortable to me to feel like the things and the thoughts that I have are going to be dissected by an audience and that people are going to listen and decide, is this boring? Is she not funny? Does she think too highly of herself? The subject to opinion is daunting to me and it's an uncomfortable thing, and that's why I think it's incredibly important to do. It goes back to the okay, I'm 23 and I have time, but if I'm 23 and stationary, then I'm just going to be 35 and have time and 62 and have time and then not have time anymore. On the Lena Dunham note, something that I try to think of constantly is her friend Jemima Kirk. She wrote something that was to me incredibly profound of I think we're thinking about ourselves too much on an Instagram story. And I think that makes it so much better. Um and I think we're in this era of cool girl. We're in an age of the cool girl where everything is curated and everything needs to be cool. And I am just hoping to not succumb to it while acknowledging that I definitely already have. And, there's the cool girl monologue and Gone Girl that like everyone cites. And it's like, even just by um, giving into the monologue, is stereotyping that you're not like other girls, like there's no winning. And I think that's I mean part of being a woman in general is like there is no cash out. There's no time where we get to say like I've walked the perfect road. There's always going to be trends that you followed that you look back that you're like, "Oh, why I didn't even like that. I don't know why I had fucking chevrons on everything, or why my room was hot pink and zebra print. That wasn't even true to my spirit." We all do that. And I think if we're all carbon copy cool girls, what makes it any different than the clean girl or the 2020s grunge e-girl aesthetic? It's like we're moving through trends as people do. Like if we go to an 80s themed birthday party, you know what people are wearing because in the 80s there was things that were popular. It's human nature to enjoy things in the masses. I don't think it's an inherently wrong or bad thing to enjoy popular things. There is a loss of identity, however, that we need to isolate and understand to kind of move past as a collective. Something that I'm guilty of too is I was talking with one of my friends. She has her own taste and her own style, and I have my own taste and style, which on this podcast thus far has solely been pajamas and comfy clothes. Somebody had mentioned that I like wear a lot of neutrals and a lot of basics, and she was like, "Well, as long as I've known you, you've worn those types of clothes, like very neutral." And I think I love a pattern. I love a color. I love a fun cut. But I also think functionally for my everyday life in walking around New York City, I like what I like. And also, I just don't have a need to be socially palatable because right now, my style, my traditional look of like very clean lines and neutrals and basics and not a ton of craziness happening. It's kind of the style right now. It's the Carolyn Bessette Kennedy world that we're living in. And um, so if I walk outside, I look like everyone else. Everyone's wearing what I'm wearing. I don't feel the need to like change my style because now it's trendy. I've seen a lot of TikToks of people saying like, oh, like this thing I love got popular and now like I can't like it. And it's like, yes, is it frustrating? Like, do I believe I was in the temples prophesizing your asses? Yeah, I kind of do. I do a little bit. There are times that I let myself have it and I say, you know what? I liked Wallows when they were narwhals. I liked Role Model in 2019. There are times I let myself have it. Then there are other times where I'm like, you know what? Everything can't be your favorite, and you can't be first to everything. Like, I will say, Chapel Roan, she didn't pop on my radar till Hot to Go. She didn't. I know a lot of people who she did, they were early fans. I wasn't. I think it's also um, okay to not be a tastemaker, but right now our taste is being cultivated by an algorithm. Tastemakers used to be the authors, the writers, the DJs, the musicians, the also like realistically, it's not just the people creating, but it's even more so the people refining, like librarians and bookshop keepers and radio disc jockey, like the people who are deciding what's good and what needs some work. And those people were so important, kind of like a filter system, if you want to think of it like as, you know, the buyers for stores. It used to be a thing that stores had buyers, especially when we had like the rise of the mall. People, would go to Nordstrom and it was somebody that decided what was going to be in Nordstrom, what Nordstrom's was going to sell. And then you went in and maybe every girl in your class had the same cute ass little shirt, and that decision was decided, like this is the whole Devil Wears Prada thing where she's like, that sweater isn't just a sweater that you picked off of the bin, like off the top of a sale bin or like whatever, in her whole monologue about, like somebody designed that collection and chose that shade of blue because blah 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 blah, about like I think cerulean blue or whatever. And now we're looking to a computer to know what we like and to tell us what we are going to like. You like a few videos. I search up a Buck Mason t-shirt and I'm getting Buck Mason ads for the next 6 weeks. And I just said Buck Mason, you know what? I'm going to start getting Buck Mason ads on my phone. That's how it's going to work. The need for a computer and an algorithm and an AI or whatever it is to tell us what we like and don't like is taking individualism and like stripping all individualism out of not only just consumerism but also taste. I think it's starting to take over with this. I've noticed a big rise of the whimsy era, which we need more whimsy. I guess this is a performative act that I'm partaking in, which because it's not performative for everyone. And like for me, I'm trying to indulge in the things that made being a kid fun. So, for example, I've been like, oh, I really want to sew like buttons onto my jeans or onto a top and like do little patterns, and that is reconnecting with finding self exploration and creativity and expression. I think everything can be ruined by cynicism, and I'm trying to undo that. All right, since I am home, I asked my grandma for a bed bug of hers, and in a true grandma fashion, she tried to tell me, no, I'm nothing bothers me. She told me two bed bugs of hers. The first one is when you're baking and you run out of an ingredient, so you have to go to the store. The second one is when you're cooking and then the food turns out really bad. And I said, Grandma, I think we're kind of missing the point a little bit. I was like, this is yes and you're yes and like you're saying to me, this happens, so that happens. Something bad happens and I'm annoyed by it. Well, yes. Well, yes. Yeah, that's kind of how life works, girl. Meanwhile, then I go to my grandpa and he gives me like a list of 12 things that annoy him immediately. And I'm like, oh, awesome, cool. He's like, you know those AI chat bots, and you go in and you tell them, oh, listen, I want to talk to a person. And they come back and they say, what is your problem today? And you say, is this a person? Immediately. Immediately he starts telling me. So let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Those AI, those AI chat, I go to a chat, I'm having a problem. Let me tell you something. It's my grandpa constantly. I have to carry the weight yet again with another bed bug this week because nobody in my life clearly is as hateful as I am. I've got to start talking to real haters. But this week's bed bug for me, this is probably, I would say, a full size infestation bed bug. QR menus. I understand QR codes were incredibly beneficial. Probably, I don't know that they really have that much effect on my life, but whatever. When I say I hate QR codes, the QR code defenders are all of a sudden like, no, 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 I love a QR code. Hey, you love a fucking QR code. Who loves a QR code? Whatever. You sit me down at a restaurant and you're gonna tell me, oh, just scan that right there. And also sometimes just like don't tell me. Like just sit me down. I'm sitting there waiting. Oh, hey, hey, hi, can we get menus? Oh, it's scan the QR code. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself right now. Don't fucking make me scan a QR code. And I'm always on the bullshit where I'm like, what if my phone was dead? My phone's never dead, but what if it was, bitch? What if it was? I just don't give me some bullshit. Give me a fucking regular ass menu. And they're always on like, oh, scan the QR code. And then it's like your website. And I'm like, I have to look at the fucking takeout menu because that's the menu available to me. And then now, like, you're logging in to fucking Netflix or whatever, and it's like, use another device to scan this code. What if this is my only device? I'm on my phone. What am I supposed to scan my phone with? Well, to be honest, my answer, my work phone. But for most of the rest of everyone else in the world, what are they supposed to do? So yeah, that's really been frustrating me. And you know what? Last night they slapped a menu that was coated in plastic on my table and fucking the size of my upper torso. And I said, thank you. This is what America wants. This is what the country needs to bring us back together. Enough with the bullshit QR code menus. Okay, that is our episode. I don't want to talk anymore. Awesome person to have a podcast. Perfect person to have a podcast. I'm done talking now. We will be back in our normal set next week, which is just my bedroom. And you don't have to miss it too much. Next week we will return to crawling around in our normal bed. I hope you enjoyed this episode of me thinking thoughts for probably the first time ever. Awesome stuff happening here. Sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite, and I'll see you next week.